What's going on, everybody? So we're gonna do one of these Ask Me Anything things. I put a post up on Facebook and on YouTube community feed deal. Um, Basically, it just means you have to follow me on Facebook or you have to just be subscribed to the channel to see that feed. And so I took a bunch of questions from there. My goal was with this is to just kind of have them be general questions, not necessarily like how to fix a guitar, what this means. There's a couple that sneak through, but the idea is we're just getting to know each other. It kind of gives you an idea of why the channel is the way it is. There's some of these questions that really kind of, I don't know. To me, they give you more of an idea of who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it. So I'm not going to do this all at once. I'm just going to grab a question here or there throughout the day, maybe today and tomorrow. I think this video is going to come out on Sunday, May 4th or 5th or whatever that day is. So that's what it's going to do. So let's just take the first couple here. Neck through or bolt on, does it matter? Again, I didn't really want technical questions, but this is easy. No, it doesn't matter. If the guitar is good, it's good. Like, just make sure everything's tight and make sure that the transfer of energy from your hands is getting through to the amp, right? It's not getting lost in any buzzes. It's not getting lost in any looseness. You don't want a loose neck. You want it to be tight. But a tight neck in a nice neck pocket that's tightened down properly and not over torqued on a bolt-on neck is just as much energy transfer as a glued-on neck, really. For example, actually, this guitar right here. So this is a Texas Toast Level 2 Challenger, and it's got a maple neck and a mahogany body. And this, for lack of a better word, is a glued-in bolt-on neck. The thing is that that's what all glue-on necks are. And sometimes the neck joint actually kind of sucks in comparison to a bolt-on one. As long as it's tight, it works. All right, here's a good one. With modern production techniques, is there such a thing anymore as a new electric guitar that is terrible? I feel like from what I see, almost any new guitar made today is perfectly fine as long as it has a good setup. Yeah, I kind of think the same way for the most part. I think if you get it from a reputable brand, a reputable company, if you buy even a very inexpensive version of a Fender or a Squier or a PRS SE or, an Epiphone, anything like that, they're going to be great guitars. I think when you get into a lot of the kind of off-brandy stuff, it can be more of a crapshoot because the bottom line is the way those guitars are made is basically they go up for bid, if that makes sense. They pick a factory and then they bid the parts out more or less. Even some Squiers are kind of done like that. So it's based on how good the factory is. I think for the most part you can get very inexpensive guitars, and like you say, if they have a good setup on them, they'll basically work. I guess the question for me personally is, am I personally happy with a guitar that does a guitar thing and that's it? What's my pride of ownership in a piece of wood with a neck on it and some pickups in it that just makes a sound? Do I want more than that, right? And I guess that's where you get into how much are you personally willing to invest in yourself, in your craft, in your hobby, to get the most out of it. Now, if somebody actually commented in the comments this morning saying, hey man, I have really inexpensive guitars and I have tried more expensive stuff and I have tried more expensive pickups and I just can't tell the difference. And so I feel like I'm saving myself a lot of headache and money just leaving it alone. And I commented, I'm like, I really love that comment because to me, you're doing exactly the right thing. You're playing, you're deciding what you want to get out of the thing, and then you're just playing the guitar once you've come to that conclusion, right? But you're not spreading any hate in any comments. You're not doing anything stupid. You're not making other people feel dumb for that. I just thought that was really cool. I really like that answer. So yeah, I think there's a lot of inexpensive guitars that are amazing. I think they're really, really good, and they are a good basis for for the entire hobby to build on. I think it's awesome. And then beyond that, it's like, okay, am I ready to go beyond just the pure basic function of an electric guitar into something where I'm like, oh, I want where I want the finish to be different, and I want the hardware to be cool, and I want the story of who made the guitar to be cool and all that kind of stuff. If that matters, then you do something different. But I agree largely with you that, man, we were looking last night on the internet, what was it, $449 or something for a Squier Classic Vibe, and that's like a really good guitar. So yeah, I totally agree. We are cooking some dinner. I got a new knife. This is a Shun Hanasuki. I really like it. This is my main knife is this hand forged bunka that I use, and I thought, this little Hanasuki might be kind of fun because it's so little and it's super light. It's AUS 10 stainless. You can kind of cut whatever you want with it. Super cool. It's a Shun. I'll leave a link to it in the description. You can get them on Amazon. Okay. Let's see. Here's a question. Daryl says, Dylan, what was your eureka moment when you first thought you could make a living making pickups? Has the path between that moment and now followed the path that you have imagined? Okay, eureka moment when you first thought you could make a living making pickups. So I actually didn't know that I could. I had no idea if this was actually going to work. This knife is very, very light. It's got a factory edge on it, so it's like real. I might switch to my other knife. It's good. It's just really light, so you have to give it some. Yeah. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, and this answer might be a little bit long, and maybe that's why we do these things, right? Is because we get to know each other. This is my 9th business. Hey, onions aren't for you, buddy. This is my 9th business. I have been an entrepreneur since I was in my early teens. I'd been inventing things since I was 10 or 11 years old. I invented my first thing when I was about 10. So it's been a constant thing for me to build my own business. I started I started a vehicle detailing business when I was 17. Ended up getting a government contract. Ended up doing a bunch of stuff. Yeah, this knife is much. I need to put this edge on that knife. And so anyway, so the entrepreneur side of it means that when you start something, you have to be ready to not make money. You have to be ready for the risk. You have to be ready for the fact that you're going to work your butt off and you're going to do a lot of things, and you're going to try a lot of stuff, and there's going to be a lot of experimenting along the way that doesn't make any money. And you have to be ready for that. And that is the case with the pickup company. When I started the pickup company, I had one client who built like 5 guitars a month. And it went okay. And yeah, so, it was a thing. But to build it into a full-blown retail business, obviously I knew right away that I was going to use YouTube, because that was in the my previous company was an off-road racing company with another guy, and we built parts for dirt bikes, and we used the print media quite a bit, magazines and that sort of thing. You look in Dirt Bike magazine and Dirt Rider magazine all through the
the mid-aughts. My stuff is in there. My writing is in there. My parts are in there. I'm in there. All over the place. But I knew that print was kind of on its way out and that YouTube needed to be a thing. So the path that we took to get here to the point where I feel like I can get up in the morning and I can make some pickups and I can get some orders and I can pay the electric bill and I can support my family and my kids have what they need, you know, and I can buy a new gun every now and then and I can buy a new pocket knife every now and then. I feel like that has literally just started to happen in the last 2 to 3 years. We've been doing it 11 years. We started out in a 1-bedroom crappy apartment on the bad side of town. And it took us, you know, this many years to get to the point where I feel like we're actually doing something. So did it take the path I thought it was going to take? Absolutely not. However, I do not... Man, I'm not ungrateful for any of it. I absolutely love everything about what we're doing. I love everything about even the bad stuff. You know, we've worked with companies that things went sideways. We've done things that, you know, worked with various people and I'm like, ugh, I'll never work with them again. But in having those experiences, we've met a lot of people and we've done a lot of really cool things and we've had really fun experiences. And so while I have a vision for what I want the results to be. I have a vision for what I want to do to provide for my family for the rest of my life. Do I want to be a millionaire making pickups? Nope. But I do want to provide for my family. And I want to make sure that they have what they need. I have a grandson now. I mean, you know, so... No, it has not taken the path I thought it was going to take. How has it differed? That was the other part of the question. I knew this was going to be a long answer because I think about this all the time. But you have to think about this stuff to keep going. How's the path between that moment and now followed the path you imagined? Oh, I didn't even ask what was your eureka moment. There wasn't even really a eureka moment. It was all development. Everything was development because it was product development. It was customer-based development. It was, for me, I'm not saying I'm the first one to ever do this, but for me personally, it was pioneering a new marketing style that I'd never done before, marketing medium I'd never done before. Now, I'd shot camera, you know, I've been behind a camera, and because of the work that my dad did with PBS and et cetera, I've shot documentaries before. I've done all kinds of camera stuff. So I have a lot of experience in film and video and video production and live video production. I've done a lot of things that way. But to apply it to marketing and to say, okay, what video are we going to make on Monday that's going to drive customers to our channel or to our website so that we can sell some pickups so that I can pay my power bill and feed my kids. Those are all new things, right? Those are all, for me, it was a pioneering event that I never thought would get here. And I've also had a lot of uncertainty with it as well, because you think, you've been doing this for 10 years, you should have 1 million subscribers and everything should be hunky-dory, and then you realize that after 10 years you only have, and I say only very loosely, just in the grand scheme of YouTube, I'm very grateful for 107,000 or whatever it is that we have now. But I'm just grateful that we can make a living with, how many people are going to watch this video in the next week? 500? Because this is probably not going to be the most popular format of one of our videos, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway because it's fun. Because that's the genuine person that I am. Like, I'm going to just make whatever video is fun and cool, and that's what we're going to do. So the path is crazy. The expectations are nuts. Everything is crazy. But at the same time, like the Lego movie, everything is awesome. So, weird answer, I know. But there you go. All right. As we're waiting for the pan to heat up, Charles wants to know, is Formula One racing the only type of racing that you follow? No, actually. Formula One has been relatively new. I would say when Red Bull became Red Bull, they were Jaguar before. And my business partner, when that happened, had done some work for Williams. And he had developed this was probably in the early 2000s. He had developed a bunch of fuel injection stuff for Williams, and so I, of course, was very much interested in that. And then we had one of our guys that we sponsored for one of our race teams. We went to Bonneville a couple of times, and set a couple world records with motorcycles. And the guy that we had ride for us was a Red Bull rider. And so we worked with him a bunch. And then he, of course, he'd won the Baja 1000 9 times. And so we had built some motors for him, and we'd done some stuff with him. And he was a good friend of ours. He lived in the town we lived in. I rode with him all the time. We had I was like pretty attached to Red Bull. Like, we would get two cases, because he would get a case and I would get a case of regular Red Bull and a case of sugar-free Red Bull every month. You couldn't drink it all. It was not possible to drink a full case of, not for me anyway. Anyway, so, and of course, he was heavily involved in Formula One before I met him. And then we had this whole kind of association and surrounded by Red Bull. And so I just really got into the Formula One thing. But at the same time, of course, you're following all of the motorcycle stuff because you're meeting and learning and knowing. Back then, I think I met Travis Pastrana for the first time in like 2000. I want to say 2005, but he had just got done racing. When I first got into dirt bike stuff, he was still racing motocross and supercross. And of course, we would go to all the supercross races around us, and we would meet everybody, and we would work with all those people doing various things. Some of those folks had our parts. And so I was really heavily involved in motorcycle racing and off-road racing, stuff that most people don't, like hare scrambles and, all that stuff. When it really comes down to it, I will follow any kind of racing. If there's two things to be raced, if you put wheels on bar stools or desk chairs and there's something, okay, we're going to race from here to there, or shopping buggies, I'll race them. I want to race. I love racing. I love competition, not for the sake of being better than anybody else. In fact, I always say, if you're going to be better, you need to ride with somebody that's faster than you. I care about the learning experience, and I care about being faster than I was yesterday. I'm a big self-improvement person. I don't care about being better than anybody. I want to be better than I was yesterday. That's like very key to my personality. So racing is key, honestly. Racing is key to my person. It is like one with my personality. These days, I follow NASCAR pretty heavily. I never did. I thought it was stupid until we did the Bonneville stuff, and you start to realize what aerodynamics is. You start to realize the science that goes into going fast and turning left. There's a lot more than you think. So I have a real appreciation for that now. So I follow NASCAR. I follow all of the car racing. I follow Indy. I follow, like the IRL series, whatever they call that now, the NT, whatever it is. I follow a lot of that stuff, not to the point of being super fanatical about it, but just to be following where the technology is going, to be following what's going on, so that I can continue to learn. I don't want to lose touch, because one of the things that people don't realize about me is I like guitars like this much. I like things with internal combustion engines about 70 times as much as that. I have to have a car to drive that is exciting. I have to have things that are exciting. I think that's one of the reasons when people give me a hard time about, boring guitars or cheap guitars, or that you're a snob, blah, 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 this or that. What it really comes down to for me, it's not so much how much the guitar costs. It's not so much how it compares to somebody else's, anything like that. If it does not excite me, I do not want it. So I will not drive a Prius, because that is just a tool to transport a human being. A guitar like a Harley Benton, or a guitar like a Firefly, or any of those things, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, and everybody can disagree with me, and it's totally fine. But just from my perspective, those guitars don't excite me, and that is a guitar that functions as a guitar-shaped object. That is not a inspiring musical tool to me. And so that comes from this desire to go faster, be better, improve, learn, know more things, become more educated about everything. And that self-competition comes from racing. Absolutely comes from racing. So I love racing. If your guitars vanished without a trace and it was impossible to get the same ones back, but you had the means to get all new ones, money no object, what would you buy first, second, and so on, if you wish? That would be absolutely horrendous, wouldn't it? Okay, so I haven't really thought about this. But off the rip, money no object, I would go for my D28, my McPherson carbon fiber, honestly, all my acoustics first. I would get new acoustics first. That would be the first thing. So D28 first, my McPherson carbon fiber. I wouldn't be able to get my new Breedlove anymore because they don't make them anymore. Or not my new Breedlove, but the Breedlove that I have. As far as electrics go, the very first electric I would probably get, probably a Les Paul. Probably my Les Paul Jr., my special, my double cut special that I just got, the custom shop one. I'd get another one of those. I would get another Les Paul. I would get another Silver Sky. What else do I have in there? And another Mike McCready Strat. That would probably be a good start. I hope it never comes to that, but that would be the start. Yep. In case you're wondering, this is a ton of food for two people, and what we do is make this, and then we eat some of it. It'll be a burrito, like a hash burrito sort of thing, and then we will probably eat it for like 3 days for breakfast. Like microwave a little bit, or put it in the toaster oven, heat it up, and then make little burritos for it for breakfast for 3 or 4 days. Works pretty awesome. Weldy McWelderson says, What do you like to play when the camera isn't rolling? I don't know what you mean. We're supposed to play poker tonight, but we're not playing poker. And one of my guys that plays poker with me comes over and leaves all this Corona in my fridge. And it just sits there, so I'm going to eat and drink some. I'll replace it if he wants me to. Okay, so what do I play when the camera's not rolling? So I don't know what this means. Does this mean riffs, guitar, music, whatever? So when the cameras are not rolling, let's go with what type of guitar do I play? I typically play acoustic. I have an acoustic ready to be played in any room at any time. Lately, I've been playing my McPherson, what did I call? McPherson Touring, which is like the 3/4 size carbon fiber. And that's the guitar that I'll take with me on trips and stuff. But I have a new, actually, by the time you see this video, you will already have seen the unboxing. I don't have it when I'm shooting this, but by the time you see this, I will have a new D18, so I'll probably be playing that a bunch. Between my carbon fiber McPherson's, my D28, and probably this D18, I play acoustic a lot. Usually it's very open, droney kind of stuff, not big power chords or leady stuff. It's usually a lot of minor key stuff, like sort of ominous and open sounding. I'll try to maybe put some in some videos, or maybe on Instagram or in a short or something, so that you can see that. Electric wise, most of the time I'll just sit around and like tonight it's gonna be hockey, the playoffs are going. So I'll probably watch one of the playoff games, who knows which one, and I'll sit with, it's probably tonight going to be my Les Paul, because that's the closest to my TV in my lounge, in the armory in there, with maybe no amp, or maybe a positive grid spark, and usually that's going to be bigger metal sounding stuff. I don't actually play. So here's something interesting. Everybody makes fun of me because I play the same 3 riffs. Here's why. It's because YouTube people like clean and edge of breakup mullet rock. They don't want anything else. What I want to play is big, huge guitar tone. Think, honestly, think early Nickelback has big freaking huge guitar tone. Think Volbeat, think Metallica, think, and then punk kind of stuff, like Bad Brains, like early punk, like classic 80s punk stuff. So those are going to be because I'm a P90 guy, those are going to be the kind of 2 extremes I go to when I'm not playing on camera. As far as music goes, again, I'm not going to go to mullet rock. It's just not my thing. I have said many times, I'm just sort of over it. I love all of the classic rock stuff, and I love all the guitar-driven music from the 70s and 80s especially. But I'm at a point where I'm like, I've heard it 70 million times, and I just don't need to hear it again. You listen to a classic rock station, they only have like 45 songs that they just play over and over again. It's just not my thing. So a lot of times, especially in the car, I'm either listening to podcasts or I'm listening to electronic music. I'm a huge fan of turntable DJ music. My favorite record of all time, and I've said this many times, is DJ Shadow Introducing from 1996. I love all of that electronic stuff. And if you watch 2 guys dueling on turntables, to me that is one of the coolest things ever. I freaking love it. I love Avicii. I love all the things that guitar players hate. Well, I could play a laptop in front of 10,000 people. No, you can't. You would suck at it. You're not creative enough to suck at it. You know why? Because you're playing the same freaking riff
from Van Halen and Led Zeppelin that you've been playing for the last 30 years. So you don't have enough imagination to do what those guys do. And it's a completely different skill. It's a completely different instrument, basically. And you know I'm just messing around here, okay? I'm not saying that to intentionally offend you. It's just a trope that you hear over and over again, drives me nuts. You wish we had smell-o-vision right now. All right, let's see. Out here. Cutting strap flat work on the laser. This is actually for somebody else. I'm not the one. We're actually making this for another guitar builder. All right, let's see. Dylan, love your content, particularly the format that you found. It goes really well with your personality. Thanks, man. Hey, I love music all around, but my favorite passion is the more alternative side of music. Hang on. Something's blocking. My real passion is the more alternative side of rock, specifically dream pop shoegaze. So what is your opinion about this genre? And is there any band or artist that you like inside of it? You know, shoegaze is not something that I'm not saying that I don't like it. I would say that I don't gravitate towards it. However, I would definitely go see it live because I'd go see just about anything live at least once. So, you know, it's a thing. I have nothing bad to say about it. You know. Oh, hang on. He's got a B part. And yet, in the kind of shoegaze topic, as far as guitars go, I'm very passionate about the offset tremolo vibrato. Makes sense. Shoegaze. That goes in Jazzmasters and Jaguars. I'd very much like to have a Telecaster with that system, but I do not know if the characteristics that a guitar must have for that system to work well. If it will transform a Telecaster into a much different guitar. Okay, so obviously there would have to be some reworking of a Telecaster. Now, the only guitar that I have experienced, or the setup that I have experienced for a Telecaster is the Vega trim. I think that's what it's called. It's like a brass blade that sort of bends, and that's pretty neat. Or a Bigsby. I would put a Bigsby B5 on a Telecaster all day long, and that would give you, it would be a little different than a Jazzmaster tremolo, but it would also give you that sort of floaty vibrato sort of situation. It's not going to move as much as a Jazzmaster, but it will still get you there, in my opinion. That's where I would go with it. Checking back in on the Stratocaster flat work there. All right, next question. Working this afternoon also on some pretty neat custom stuff. We've got I did an all blacked out Enduro. We used acid to change the color of the magnets, which is pretty cool. And then we've got some of this mirrored stuff. It's pretty neat. All right, next question. Here we go. Okay. Would you ever show your firearms on the channel, at least so we know what they are? Okay. Obviously, I would love to, and I guess I can. I will. I'll show them to you. But here's what I'm going to say about it before I do it. If you are not into this, I'm obviously going to edit this, so I will put a timestamp when we're past this part. There will be people in the comments who will make a big deal out of this. Maybe because they're from another country. Maybe because they feel a certain way about it for some reason. I understand you, but this is a hobby that I really do enjoy. And so if it's something that bothers you, just scroll past it, and we'll get back to stuff that you may be interested in. For those of you that want to make some sort of character judgment of me based on my hobbies, I will say that if we sat down and have a beer, chances are you are into things that I would not be, and you may do things in your life that offend me. However, I let that go because there are things about you that I like. That you play guitar, that you enjoy this guitar nerdy stuff, and you come back every week and you support the channel. So for those of you that want to get butthurt about this stuff, obviously I can't stop you. You can feel however you want to feel. I'll give you that freedom. Obviously, you deserve it. But I also deserve to have the freedom to have the hobbies that I have too. So I just want to say that because it's one of those things where people get really, really worked up. And so, and this is not a political thing. This is just you and I talking and having a conversation and getting to know one another thing. I have friends that don't like firearms. And so when they come over, they just don't go in that room. But we still remain friends and we still hang out. So if you cannot do that, that's okay. You can feel free to move on from the channel. Never watch me again. I don't care. If you make comments about it in the comments section, I will delete them. I will delete them because it's not necessary. Okay, that being said, let's do some fun stuff. All right, so we're already getting ready for our live stream tonight because it's Thursday, but won't spend a bunch of time on this, but we've got a PTR G3 308 up there. It's pretty neat. We've got my pride and joy right there, which is a Nighthawk Agent 2 9mm 1911. Below that is our latest acquisition, the FN 502 in that tan one, FDE one. It's a 22. And then we've got a Shadow Systems MR920 with the Shadow Systems comp. Below that, we've got a SIG P226. That's the 40th anniversary edition, which is pretty neato. It came in the vintage box and everything. To the left of it, we've got a Walter PPK, and that's actually PPK, not a PPKS. Below that, we've got a CZ Shadow 2. Over here, we've got a Smith & Wesson 2.0, the MMP 2.0 Performance Center 5-inch with the comped imported barrel and etc. And then we've got another Walter, that's the PDP 4-inch. And then here we've got that's just a PSA build that I did on an Aero Precision lower in 300 blackout 10.5 pistol. And then here we have an Aero Precision 223556 with a SIG 220 LVPO on it. And let's see, yeah, I guess we're running out on the room. This is a SIG 365 XL Spectre comp. This is one of my favorites. And then we have a bunch of other stuff too. So we have, that doesn't fit in here. There's some in Leslie's office. She's in a meeting, so I can't really show you, but she's got in there a SIG P365 Rose in 9mm. And she's got in there a Canik, it's actually mine, but it's in there, Canik, what is that thing? It's the Canik TP9SC or whatever. It's the little, like the 3.5-inch 9mm thing. Really good trigger. And then Brianna has a SIG P365 that is all Wilson combated, so that's pretty cool. And then she's got some Ruger 380 that she doesn't really use that much anymore. So there you go. And we've got some more stuff coming too, but that's further down the road. Anyway, okay, we'll timestamp this and then we'll let all the non-firearms people back in. Let's talk about food. Pretend it's date night. One of you has had some decent cash threatening your pocket with a fiery hole, and you want to try either something you might not have had before or a different version of something you're otherwise familiar with. Time and distance are no object or obstacle. All other things are equal and ideal. Wherever you go, they'll make anything on or off the menu. If y'all want different things, what will y'all summon to the plates? Multiple answers are definitely allowed. So I'll tell you right now what's on my mind 100% for a dinner date, and we may do this weekend. Indian food. As you are aware, for those of you that follow the channel, you know that we both eat a plant-based diet, so I don't, a good steak is not on my list. But Indian food, man, we don't eat it very often, and there's a really good Indian place, and actually money doesn't even have to be an object. I want to say every time I go there, both of us eat, and it's like under $50. Like, food's really good. So that's currently on the list of things that I want to eat right now. We lived on the road in a motorhome for a few years, and there are places all over the country. There's a place in, oh man, I couldn't even tell you. There's places. Leslie literally has a list. She has a spreadsheet of all these really good places. Chattanooga, Tennessee, St. Louis, San Francisco. I'm just coming off the top of my head. The place in Denver that I love closed down. Some places in San Antonio, all over the place. Cause so we've lived in, there's a place down by Miami that's fantastic. Obviously all plant-based places, but just, beyond a basic menu, super good. So I would give you any of those lists if it was a distance thing. But currently, and I'm thinking probably this weekend, we tried to Instacart it the other night, and the Instacart ended up being like really ridiculous. Like, sometimes the fees on that thing are too expensive. So it ended up making a meal that we knew should have only been, $45, ended up being close to $100. So we just said, forget it. We're just going to drive there and not Instacart that, because we Instacart a lot of stuff. Yeah, I would say Indian food is a number one on the list at the moment. Let's see. How is your grandson? Tell me a cute story, please. I'm real careful with that. Obviously, he's my grandson. He's not my son. So how I share him on social media beyond just, yeah, he's cute, is kind of not my decision. So I try to respect my son and his wife about how much they share, because he's a baby, So, but I'll just tell you all that to say, I'm not going to tell you like a bunch of stuff or show you a picture, but I will tell you he's growing so fast that, like, if I've not seen him for 2 weeks, and because of this illness I've had and stuff, and so just trying to play it cool with him. But he has changed so much. Like, in the last 2 weeks since I've seen him, just in pictures and stuff. We have a little family text thread, and good grief, he's growing so fast, and he's just so cute, man. He's just, it's so cool. Having kids in general is amazing, but having a grandkid is super, super fun. Absolutely love it. Let's see. We're running out of time, so we need to keep going through these things. Let's see what we got here. This could get a little deep. What goes into a pickup design construction? Likely a few factors to make it produce more mid-range frequencies. Low line count, really affecting wire tension and coil shape. Those would be the things. Being a jazz guitarist, I'm more worried about cutting through the mix than having high frequencies, since I roll off a lot. Yeah, focus on something a lot more mid-rangey for sure. Mostly interested in humbuckers. Yeah, so coil shape on a humbucker when you're constricted to a certain coil shape. Now we're starting to look at, for me anyway, the way I approach it, we're starting to look at magnets and wire tension and wind count, how you put the wire on the bobbin, which we can control down to the gram with our machine. So that's what I would say. That would give you the easiest. Is it even possible to upgrade junky quote unquote pickups like Squire or Epiphone by rewinding them, or is that just dumb? The only time I think that it is economical or sensible to rewind a pickup is when you're trying to keep a guitar as vintage correct as possible. If you have a guitar that's worth a lot of money, like if you've got a 60s Tele or a 60s Strat or an old Gibson or, something that's really worth some money. And it might not just be money, but it might just be sentimentality to you too. But we're talking about the financial side here. If the guitar is worth a lot of money, no guitar, in my opinion, people will be like, this pickup doesn't work, but I don't want to rewind it because it'll devalue the guitar. Well, if the guitar doesn't work, it's not as worth as much as if it works. So get it friggin' fixed. But be careful who you let do it. I don't do it anymore. We don't have the parts and stock and stuff. We make our own stuff. That's all we do. And we make stuff for other people, but it's all new. So I would say make sure that you pick the right guy to do that, or gal, and make sure that I would just do it to retain the value in a vintage instrument, but pick the right person to do it. Other than that, it's not worth it. Have you ever thought about making a humbucker sized single coil that sounds like a Tele bridge pickup? No. The answer is no. It's not what we do. I don't like compromised pickups. But this pickup sounds almost like that one. If you want that one, get that one. If you want a humbucker, get a humbucker. If you want a single coil, get a single coil. I've read about specialists who put putty inside violins and acoustic guitars to add mass to certain areas, thus sweetening the sustain. Any thoughts about this? I've never heard about putty. I do know that a lot of solid body, semi-hollow guitars, there is a lot of thought put into their design so that they work correctly. I'll give you an example. I've got one right here. This is the Texas Toast Icon, and that guitar is hollow inside, but there are areas that guitar is very thoughtfully developed on the inside to make it work and to make it sound the way it's supposed to sound, the way it's structurally stable. All those things have to be taken into consideration with a hollow body guitar. Even these McPherson carbon fiber acoustics, this one and that one, the tops are designed very, very specifically. They don't have traditional bracing in them. They have Nomex, which is what's used in like rockets and stuff. And if you look at the bracing on that guitar, it's not traditional bracing like braces. It's like it almost looks like a hand like this stuck to the inside of it, and the thickness of it and everything, and the epoxy that they use and all that stuff is super, super specific to control vibration. And so, yes, I think there's a lot of thought and engineering that can go into it. The question is, do all guitar builders put that amount of thought into each one? I would venture to say no. All right, thoughts on Boker knives. I have a few, or looking at a few online. Let me see over here. I have a couple. So I have, those ones are made overseas. They're okay. This knife, well, they're all made overseas because they're German. This knife right here, is the made in Boker Solingen in Germany, and this dude is it's like a burled wood as well as a really nice stainless, and it's just a little basic lockback. These are not inexpensive, but if you want a good Boker knife, I would recommend getting something made in Germany by them. They have different lines, and so they have Boker Plus, they have Boker Magnum, and then they have Boker Solingen, which that's what this is, and it is a very high quality knife, absolutely incredible. And then the other thing that I've got by Boker that's really interesting, while we're here, I don't remember, this is not actually branded Boker. Well, it is, but it isn't. I don't remember what they call this. But what this is a sleeve dagger. And so it's got a very interesting, it goes on your arm like this. And it's got a very interesting holster. This was made, this is reproduction, but this was made for, I think this was made by the British in World War II to be like a covert offensive weapon for covert operatives. And so it would be, there's like a leather strap thing that goes on your forearm, and then this slides into it, and you can easily pull it out and then use it, probably in reverse grip, I would imagine. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So those are my two most interesting Boker knives. All right, let's see what we got here. What is your... Zeba, can you please put that on the soft floor? What is your favorite show you've ever been to? I could easily answer this. My favorite show I've ever been to in all of my life. I have two. One is, favorite of all time, is Dave Matthews Band and Zach Brown Band live at Alpine, the Alpine Amphitheater, which is where Stevie Ray passed away in Wisconsin, and it was freaking amazing. This show was absolutely incredible. And it was when I was introduced to Zach Brown, and it was before I moved here. It was before I was doing a lot of stuff in country music world, which I do now, and so I know a lot of those people, and I really love it. But this was before that, and so it was very informative for me. Then the other favorite is about 3 or 4 months before Chris Cornell died. We went to a small theater in Charleston, South Carolina, I think. And we saw him. It was just him with an acoustic guitar on a stage. That was it. And it was about, it gave you goosebumps. The show gave you goosebumps. And then about, I want to say 3 or 4 months later, he passed away. And my wife is a huge fan. And so to this day, I think neither of us, it's difficult to listen to his music just because of that experience. And then here's the last one. What is your worst guitar memory? Oh, I don't know. Dude. Worst guitar memory. I would say I don't have a singular one because I don't really... It's weird for me to say this. I don't really have bad memories. I'm not a person who regrets things. We do things and we do as best we can, right? So I don't know that I necessarily have a bad memory. I've never, dropped a Gibson and broken a headstock, or I've never, had anything like that. I've had some bad experiences with people. But even then, the people that I met along the way as a result of those bad experiences have been amazing. And I've I'll give you an example. I'll give you a couple examples. I had a bad experience, but a result of that bad experience was that I met Carlos Lopez from Fender Custom Shop. and him and I are great friends now. It's how I met Baxter and Jonathan from Casino Guitars. It's how I met Austin from Runway Audio. I've had other bad experiences with other people, and it's how I've met. So I just you make all these friends along the way. So I don't really care about like what is your worst guitar memory. I don't really think like that, I guess. So I'm not saying I don't have bad memories, but I don't dwell on them in the way that they like catalog in my head that way. I just immediately default to what was the good experience that came from this thing that happened. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of how I roll. It's a different. I know that's a little woo woo again, but you have to keep these positive perspectives, and you have to keep these like building blocks. I would say, if we're talking about experiences, I want to be careful how I say this because I don't really. But I'm just going to be honest with you. The worst part about what I do is people in the comments section who are not thoughtful beyond themselves. I look at this as a community, as this huge organism, right? That we're all contributing to, and that like we're like, I make a video, somebody else makes a video, you make a comment, we have a conversation. That's why we do so many live things. That's why we do a thing like this. Because I feel that it's more important than just absolute facts. I feel like we are people. Well, the internet says, no, that is people, right? Well, the internet doesn't like, no, that's a couple of people that don't like, right? So I like to really parse that out and be real specific. And you're going to say, well, you obviously care about this because you are in the comments, refuting people and whatever. And yes, the only reason I do that, on Facebook, it's entertaining because people on Facebook are just not, they're in a whole nother realm. On YouTube, the reason I do it is because, again, this huge organism that we are all contributing to. And the folks that don't contribute things in a positive manner or don't contribute things thoughtfully, especially the ones that are extremely hateful, in my opinion, I'm not going to censor you. You have the freedom to feel however you want. You can hate me. It's okay. I don't care. People say, well, you get so triggered. No, that would mean that I would have to care. That would mean that I would have to emotionally make an expenditure. When I reply to those things, my motivation is two things. One, maybe I think it's funny because it's so crazy. Or two, so that it gets pointed out to the rest of the community so that they know. See, when you say something stupid on the internet, and I don't mean stupid, I mean hateful or whatever, you are telling us who you are. Well, I'm not really like that. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So once you have the guts to say something on the internet that you would not say in person, then you are telling us who you really are. And if that is a person that doesn't make a positive contribution to the community, I'm going to point it out so that the rest of the community knows who you are. That's why I do it. So it's not necessarily so I'm not saying that those are my negative experiences with guitar stuff, but those are the things that are the most difficult because I really care about all of you. I don't want to spend too much time on the negative stuff, but I think it needs to be addressed sometimes. And so that's why you'll see that. But, it's all part of it. It's okay. And honestly, most of the time, it's funny. Don't forget that if you're a moron, we're going to laugh at you. And so it's going to be funny. Dude, this dog. Look at that dog. Hey, buddy. I mean, I'm not telling you to stop. I'm just telling you, I'm pointing out how loud and clunky it is. Well, this got way longer and crazier than I thought it was going to be. But it was fun. For the 7 of you that watch it, I hope you really enjoy it. For the, not 7, it was probably 15 or 20 people who had questions on this thing. This is just a long, crazy thing. We're not going to do these very often. That's why we're releasing it on Sunday. But I hope you have a great day. Thanks for hanging out. For those of you that don't like me, or don't like me still, or don't like me now because of this thing, that's okay. Go to Dylan Talks Tone, buy some pickups, try the stuff that we make, and maybe you'll like me then. And if you don't, that's okay too. I don't care. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.